please stand if able for worshipful Mayor of Macclesfield, Councillor Sandy Livingston.
Evening all. Once we have some sunshine, so thank you all for coming, given such a lovely evening, and long may it continue to be a lovely evening once we all finish. So from the start, apologies for absence.
Councillor Howard, Councillor Gilman, Councillor Bennett Wake, so my computer's decided to do updates from my notes. For Councillor... Chris, Councillor Wilcott, thank you.
Declaration of interest. Councillor Barber.
Just to clarify, I'm non-pecuniary interest. I'm a trustee of Filton Beam.
Councillor Wilson.
Just if in the interest of transparency and pecuniary interest in that create are largely active on my board, yourself board.
Non-pecuniary interest, I'm a trustee from of Create, so when we look at the Create item I will step away and present and not vote.
Okay, so is there any others? Is that? Thank you for those. Don't believe we have any public questions. We have a number of public speakers who I will take after we've done the co-option of the candidate for the vacancy in the South Ward. So we have two candidates. We have a Sam Hale and a Peter Rollins. Hopefully I got that right. In no order, I flicked a coin to decide who went first. So I'm going to ask, so each candidate has 5 minutes to speak, after which councillors can ask some questions. After each candidate, and following that, both candidates having spoken, we have, as a councillors, can decide whether we wish a short recess in private before we cast our votes. Okay, so hopefully that's relatively clear. So I'm going to ask Mr. Hale to speak first.
Is it just going to glass of water?
Yes.
We can warm up every water. Very much. Would you want to sit anywhere, or no? Just go with the flow. That's very kind of. Thank you very much. Well, hello everybody. Thank you very much for giving me the time to talk to you today. So my name's Sam. I am a Maxwell resident of 7 years, originally from Stoke-on-Trent. Moved here mainly for work, really. Me and my partner's a teacher in Stoke, and I used to work in Manchester, and we looped around the town, given the equidistant between the two places, and immediately fell in love with the town, I think it's fair to say, not just because of the pubs and the bars and the shops, but the community, the local events, everything that's going on that makes the place such a great town to live in. I'll talk a little bit about my career and my kind of community background, and hopefully that'll set over any questions you may have. Career-wise, I work in banking. I've been in banking for 10 years, originally at the Co-op Bank. I've then moved between various start-up banks, mainly in Manchester, but I'm now working at a start-up in Wrexham in beautiful Wales, where I am the head of treasury for a start-up bank that's been going for 5 or 6 years. As head of treasury, I'm involved in managing what we call prudential risks. They're the ways that a bank can go wrong. It can run out of cash, can run out of capital, can be exposed to interest rates, market rates, all that fun. As well as an investment portfolio of £1 billion is sat under my function. It's given me a lot of experience in finance, how to read a balance sheet, how to run a book, how to run a profitable enterprise, and to get the most bang for your buck and squeeze every penny. Is very much important for us when we're in a startup phase. in terms of community background, so I've always been involved in governance. I won't say politics per se, but I've always it started off, I think as a 15-year-old as a member of the Youth Parliament back in Stoke, involved in the local youth councils. I was a trustee of the British Youth Council, who was the national charity that used to run the UK Youth Parliament. I was a trustee of my students' union in Lancaster, and when I moved to Macclesfield, quickly got involved by becoming a governor at Hurdsfield Primary School for a couple of years, as well as Macclesfield Academy, up to my first year of COVID, really. I haven't, I guess since those two local positions, I'm currently serving as a non-executive director for the Co-op Credit Union, who are in Manchester. Very much a case of being able to apply my financial skills and background to a just cause that tries to kind of go against predatory financial practices and give people a fair chance. What really kind of drove my interest in sitting here in front of you today is the plans for the South Park Pavilion. Got invited to participate in the consultation. I'm very much interested in getting that facility here for the town. It's a big project, and when you are borrowing money on behalf of the public, there has to be a high level of high degree of scrutiny and ensure that it is in the public interest, and I do believe that, but I want to be able to be there at the cold face, helping those decisions be made and making sure that we're getting a fair deal for taxpayers' money. That's very much kind of my background and my interest. Is I recognise that local government is where it starts. It's people's first interaction with the state. It's where you can really make a positive difference. It's where you stop people falling through the cracks, and having a strong town council, strong team as well behind that stops that and just works to making sure we get a better place to live. But it doesn't necessarily get the press interest that I think it deserves. And I think we have to ensure there is that scrutiny within the body for us to make those good decisions. Happy to take any questions. Could I ask? Could you shout at me? I was in Hamburg 12 hours ago on the tail end of my stag do. So this is my this is my day of recovery. My ears haven't quite popped. So please, I won't take any offence if you have to shout at me.
See if I speak louder than I used to do. But thank you for explaining why you wish to be a better town councillor. Other questions from councillors? Councillor Edwards.
It's a simple question, and you immense qualifications and so on. Do you think you'd have sufficient time to put in?
It's something that I've yes. It was the first thing my soon-to-be wife asked me is, have you got time for it? Because it is my job is it's a 60-70 hour role, and my missus being a teacher means she gets lots of holidays, but she expects me to turn up to some of them at least. So it's a very fair question. Yes, I've been through the kind of I don't want to say bare minimum commitments, but a very solid understanding of times for not just the council but any committees that which for me to serve on, but also I want to be involved in the events. I want to be involved in the working projects like the South Park Pavilion. I am a very organised individual. You have to be, I think, when you've got so many plates spinning. So I'm very comfortable with this gift of time.
Can I just explain why I'm asking that, Sam?
Please.
And that is, for instance, the committee for Mike's committee, the planning committee, is only just quora at some times, and we do need people who can actively turn up for the meetings and so on.
Yes, as long as there's a schedule, there's a pattern at least to when those dates are, and I've noticed that's not a problem at all. It's a fair point, I think. Councils across the country have difficulty attracting folks who have full-time jobs because you want to mix of people who are involved in the community in certain ways, want to be in employment, and it's a difficult balance to strike, getting those people who can turn up and make commitments. But fully understand and very keen to pick up Neil's mantle and continue the good work he did for this town.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have you ever thrown your hat in the ring before, so to speak?
I used to be involved in party politics, yeah. Straight after uni, actually, I ran for Parliament in 2015 to 2017, unsuccessfully. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, kissing babies for photos on the doorstep. But it was, it was something I did for the party to make sure there was a candidate on the ballot paper, so people had that option to choose. Although the election was by and large already decided. But I haven't apart from serving as a paper candidate, similarly in that regard.
Okay.
So not in fact, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where was that then?
So I've stood for the Stone constituency, which is all the farms between Stoke and Stafford, and then I served as a paper candidate, locally for the Gorsworth seat.
Are there other questions, councillors? Councillor Rosen?
Yes, thanks, Sam. You mentioned the South Park Pavilion being a project that you'd taken an interest in, and as you know, we worked really hard to make sure that was known to the public. Out of all the other things the council does that you're aware of, which do you think is making the most difference for our residents and why?
I love the town park ranges, and I guess this is from where I'm from, a small town outside of Stoke, where my dad's involved in the In Bloom, the GL In Bloom, and they have so much issues in getting support, financial and time from they've got a slightly different team of council, from the local councils, and when you are solely reliant on volunteers, you can do the best job that you can, but it's always going to be limited. Whereas here they do a magnificent job. I just love walking around the centres and the parks, and it's old broken windows theory. Is it New York or somewhere in America where if you don't look after the little things, that's when the big things, in terms of crime and the rest of it, kick in. And actually, you set that base of it with a clean, tidy, smart town that looks pretty. Then that resonates, and it's something. I don't want to say it's simple, because I know it's not, but it's a service that I think's brilliant for the council funds it, and they do an excellent job. A really good for our town.
Any other questions, councillors? Well, in that case, thank you very
Fantastic.
much.
Would you like me to leave or just
No, please.
Super.
Please stay. Mr. Rollins?
Hi. Jules. Go here.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. Name's Peter Rawlins. Grew up in Sutton in Macclesfield. Went to Leeds School. Did a BTEC HND at Leicester Poly, then Trent Poly, public admin. Nearly got into Essex University. I think it was too academic for me. I enjoyed my Polytechnic course very much. In fact, my case study was on public service ethics, which I very much enjoyed. I worked on my placement in committee work in Westminster Council. Lived in Congleton, came back to Macclesfield, tried to get a job. Worked here at the Old Town Hall, and Rugby Borough Council in committee work. I would like this opportunity because I solidly believe in the public service ethic and the need to, kind of be blunt, change some of the approaches. I've had personal experience of South Park, a lovely place, but I did have quite a bad experience, and I would like the chance to change that and be involved with it and participation. I'm a great believer in participation in local politics. I think that's very important. I come from a background of, you could argue, local government, volunteering for Oxfam for 4 years when I was unemployed, but my parents, my brother was a teacher, my father worked for Ferranti, and he was a club leader, and I did get involved in that at Barneswood when I was younger and cycling up, and I would love the chance to change some of the things in my hometown, Macclesfield. I feel it's a lovely town, although I've my attitude's changed on what we employ, but that's just a personal opinion. But I would like this opportunity very much to go forward and be involved as a councillor. Thank you.
You can finish anytime you wish. Mr.
Yeah, as I say, my qualifications give me the background to go into that. I did a degree in public administration, went on as a mature student to Liverpool John Laws, where I did postgraduate librarianship. Unfortunately, I became ill. A lot of IT work. I wanted to go into library work. Ideally library, local government based career, but my health didn't suit that. I feel I have a lot of enthusiasm for local government. I know Macclesfield. I lived in the area. I lived on Coronation Street for 20 years with my partner on and off. I would like this opportunity. I've got a lot to give, a lot of experience of working with mental health issues, which I think is quite important. I do think Macclesfield's very lucky in that respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, questions?
No, that's fine.
Councillor Wilson?
Yes, thank you for coming along to speak to us. My question is the same. Out of all the things that the town council does that you're aware of, which one do you think makes the most difference in our community?
I mean, I personally feel my ex-partner was a florist, and more recently I feel the flowers do give a positive bloom to the town. I think that's very good. I'm impressed by the anti-litter, clearing up the town. You seem to have got over this thing of broken bottles. I mean, the library's very good, the public library, the library up the road, which I use. The town hall's very accessible for folk. As you know, I'm sure you're more than aware, Macclesfield is a big town. It deserves a good representation. A good representation in local politics, people from, but these are the things, yes. I feel it's slightly disappointing the library hours have been reduced, but I guess that's due to things out of your control.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Lloyd.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillors, you have the option of having convening in camera a meeting without anybody else being present if you wish. Is that something you wish to do? Or are you happy to move towards selection? Councillor Wilson?
I propose that we move to the vote now.
I'm happy.
I'll have to second that.
Take a vote, please. We all agree?
Please
Proposal?
vote. Yeah.
Okay. Can I then ask you to fill in your slip?
We're just going to count them here,
Okay.
and then I'll count it. Before I announce the result, just a comment from me that we live in a country where democracy is democratic, where when there is an election, power transitions peacefully, which is, I think, something I'm glad on.
And this is an important part of our democracy that the Town Council does. So we have a result. So unanimously, I think Mr Hale has been elected to the Town Council. I really do appreciate your time, Mr Rollins, and coming forward and putting yourself forward. Clearly there will be opportunities in the future. I thank you very much for your time tonight, coming and doing this. Yeah, Sam. Sam, Mr Hale, we ask you to join the meeting as an elected councillor. You're welcome to stay, Mr Rollins, and you're welcome to invest in it if you wish to.
Thank you very much for thank you.
Okay. Having done that, we have a number of people here to speak to us, so I am going to take them first. I won't take the CCTV part, I'll take that as part of the agenda, if that's okay. There isn't anybody from CCTV come up to speak to us tonight, if that's alright. And the first speaker is from the local police unit. It's Chief Inspector Sarah Driscoll.
Thank you for inviting me tonight. Richard Catt, my inspector, will normally attend these, but unfortunately he's away, so you have me. So I just wanted to go through some of the results we're seeing in Macclesfield, some of the stuff we're doing, some of the initiatives, and then take any questions that you might have about local concerns, local crime. So, first of all, I just wanted to talk about our outcome rates for crime. So they're at 21.2% at the moment. So that means that out of every 100 crimes, then 21 is detected. And though that sometimes feels quite low, because of the way crime is recorded, we are actually the second highest borough for the whole of Cheshire, with the second highest outcome rate. So that shows how much Cheshire is taking crime seriously, and us as a LPU, so a local policing unit, out of the 9, we're actually the second highest, just second to Runcorn. So that just gives you a feel for how much we're pushing to try and bring offenders to justice, and we do that through a range of outcomes. So nationally, I think the average outcome rate is about 14%, so we're about 7% above where a lot of forces sit. So that's just a real positive. I did 20 years in GMP, so I was the police officer for the city centre alongside the Moss side. Having come to Macclesfield, that's amazing. I think we should be all really proud of how safe that should make us all feel. So I just did some comparisons about crimes that concern people within our communities. So burglary, obviously horrible crime, violation of people's homes, how people feel after being convicted of burglary. Year to date, we had 331 burglaries at the same period last year, and we're down to 238 at the moment. And that's due to a lot of work with GMP. A lot of our cross-border offenders come from GMP because we have an affluent area. We attract criminality from other areas. So we've done a lot of work with GMP, a lot of cross-border warrants around that, and that's really helping in bringing our burglary rate down. We also really push our CBOs. So I don't know if anyone's been into Mac Police Station. Please do, and see my wall of shame, as I call it. So basically, if you commit crime in the city centre, Macclesfield Town Centre, then we can apply for something called a criminal order against you. These are really effective when you're looking at like low-level offences, so people who antisocial behaviour, where it's theft from motor vehicles, shoplifting, things that you're not going to go to prison for a long time, but really actually have a negative effect. So when I first came to Macclesfield Town Centre, there was all the street drinkers outside B&M, various people that you'd see just sitting about. We've now got a lot of them offenders, CBO, not to be in our town centre, and they're really effective tools because they're 5 years in some cases. So if you are caught in the town centre, you don't have to do anything and we can arrest you. And because the court has imposed them criminal behaviour orders, it means that they also then don't like it when you breach them. So people will get more sometimes in prison for a breach of a CBO than they will for the actual offence that they got arrested for. And if you do go into my front desk, they're all there because I want to show people that there is an effect, you know, that if you do commit crime in our town, that we do something about it. So it's really important to me that we publicise them because we have probation working with us. So sometimes, you know, we have people who are maybe on that wrong path, and having that advert out to show that we take crime seriously at Macclesfield Police Station is really important to me. Other things that we've been doing a lot of is our scrutiny panel. So our scrutiny panel has gone to strength to strength. It's run at Mac Academy, who have been really supportive of it. And from the work we did with Mac Academy, we, Pauline, who we worked with there, got a few young people to come to it, and they were really engaging, and it was really good to make young people in our town realise that the Twitter and the American cops they see on social media isn't their local policing, because what a scrutiny panel does is it shows body worn of stop searches, of arrests, of force used, and shows the scrutiny that we have to go through in terms of our paperwork, and then we ask the community what they think about that. So because they were really successful at Mac Academy, we've now rolled them out to other schools. So we did one in All Hallows, we've done one at Tiverington High School, and we've done two at Mac Academy. So that's something that I'm really keen to keep rolling out, because it's really important to me that young people see us in a positive light. In selfish terms, we want young people to want to become police officers again, not TikTokers or YouTubers. And so, you know, getting young people to think about policing careers is really important. So that's been something that I think has been really successful, and the feedback from young people has been really positive around that. And then I just wanted to talk about warrants and intelligence. Obviously, my background is my side. There was a lot of crime, drugs, guns, things that Macclesfield fortunately don't have. But when I arrived here, we weren't doing many warrants. Now, when you look at the things that really upset people, most crime is done because of drugs. And most people, if you're living with near drugs, it's really scary. So we have now 2 weekly intelligence meetings. I don't know if any of you saw the Pennington's Lane closure order we got. So that was done off the back of doing some warrants and then applying for closure orders. And just a kind of plea for me as councillors, when people are telling you stuff, I know sometimes people feel really scared to approach the police, but Crime Stoppers and anonymous intelligence is really important. So with the Pennington's Lane, we went out and delivered lots of letters saying, if you don't feel confident, ring Crime Stoppers. And intelligence, the way it's rated, we can't act on that per se. So if we got a load of Crime Stoppers, you couldn't apply for a warrant for it, because that would be unfair, the courts would say, because obviously it's untested, people could ring up maliciously. But it does point us in the right direction of what's going on in that area, what more can we do? And we discussed that in our Intel meeting about, right, we've got all these Crime Stoppers, how more can we do something around this? So we've had some really successful warrants in Macclesfield at the moment, and our county lines also has been really successful. We talk about them regularly. We haven't got any massive active lines from Manchester or Liverpool at the moment that we're really concerned about, and we work really closely with Merseyside and GMP, that when we have got active lines, there's a lot of work done to shut them down and get them out of our town, basically. So there's some of the highlights I just wanted to talk about. Vehicle crime, last week we had 2 really good arrests for people with jammers, so who can block signals and stuff. So both them people were remanded, but vehicle crime in the outskirts of the town is still a bit of a concern. So again, for local residents, if they see anything on Ring doorbells, see anything suspicious, just reporting that would be really great.
Really appreciate you coming in. I know you're busy. And I think it's one of the things we're keen to do as the town council is forge a close relationship with our local police unit. I'm delighted to see you here. Thank you for coming. I'm going to hand it over to councillors for questions. Councillor Warren.
I'll go first. I'm an ex-police officer, ex-police sergeant from Macclesfield. How confident are you, Sarah, that the message you're telling us, this good news, gets outside your organisation, actually to the people on the street? Because I feel there's a disconnect between our beat officers and us as local councillors. There's numerous councillors in this room who've got frustrations that their local officer isn't contactable or doesn't contact them over issues. And you know, it's good that you're asking us to ask the residents to report things in, but they need to have a confidence that things are going on. So for you to say, you know, if the local beat manager to say, we've done a warrant this morning, we've recovered drugs, 2 being arrested, that's great news, but we don't get to hear of it.
Mm. And I think that's something we could really look at. So in GMP, I had a list of councillors, and if we had something happen, the expectation was I would email councillors to let them know so that they could reassure residents, and that's not something we probably have here, that list of councillors where we can just send out. Where do you all get our newsletters?
No.
Okay, so straight away massive issue for me because I've got some, not in colour, I'm sorry, I couldn't work out how to print them in colour, but I'll just share some of them with you. And it's exactly that, it is, you said we did, so it's got, you told us that shoplifting was a problem, you said that this, and what we've done about it. But if you're not receiving them newsletters, then how are you meant to tell, and if your residents aren't receiving the newsletters, because they're done every 3 months.
Okay.
There's one for each ward, they're on the local policing website, but I don't expect you to have to go and find them, we should be emailing out. So I'll certainly take that up and get that email list and make it really clear that we need to start. Richard and Nick, who are the 2 inspectors, need to start sending you the newsletters so you can see what's going on.
I mean, we're not going anywhere for another 3 years. So we're constant, and there's that frustration is born out of staff moving, and staff do move. That's part of the organisational problem, isn't it? But we need communication as much as you need communication, I would say, to spread the work that you are doing, because you are doing some good work.
Yeah.
Just need that connect, really.
Well, if I could, I'll get all your email addresses. I'll send you my email address, and then I will CC you in and put Richard and Nick in, just saying, look, these are what we agreed, that if the person changes, we'll let you know. Every newsletter we do needs to be emailed out to all the councillors, because how could we not? That's just such an easy win for me. So yeah, I'll totally take that on board.
Thank you.
Councillor Edwards, did you wish to put a question?
I think Councillor Wilson.
Apologies. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you very much indeed for coming along to speak to us this evening. It's really useful for us to engage and be able to work together to support our residents. First of all, I completely agree with Councillor Warren. I've been a councillor for some time, and in the past we would always have regular ward walks with our PCSOs. It was very encouraging to see what a great relationship the PCSOs had with the young people on the ward, our Maxfield South ward, where the football ground is. And you know, that has fallen away, and at this moment in time I don't even know whether we have a PCSO in South. I also do recall when there was an incident that councillors would be advised, so councillors were A, aware, and B, can support. I think you're also aware that one of the key issues in my ward at the moment is parking around the football ground. This has been an issue for some time. We have had myself and Councillor Buddicombe, who sat to your left, have had a meeting with Richard and other ones of your colleagues to discuss this through, but it is not being resolved. We did raise a question at Cheshire East Council a couple of weeks ago about this, and residents are at the end of their tether with the dangerous parking, disrespectful parking, and it is parking of a law-breaking nature. So I would ask that resources be given to that, because it isn't match days, it isn't you chose to live near a football ground so you have to put up with it. It's all the time. It's important to emphasise what a fantastic resource Macclesfield Football Club is to the community and to all residents, but residents are getting very near the end of their tether, and I fear this is not going to improve unless we can all work together to assist to stop people parking so irresponsibly, people having to walk in the road, people with prams, people in wheelchairs use the road, large vehicles having to go on the wrong side of the road to get round parked vehicles, and it is, not to coin a phrase, an accident waiting to happen. Thank you.
Other questions, Councillor?
Yeah.
Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. Hello, Sarah. Same old story, I'm afraid, and probably fairly well put by Councillor Warren there. I was very disappointed that our PCSO should have extended sick time off. Was it 3 months, 2 months, something like that? And she was not replaced at all. She wasn't there. We didn't know anything about it until we actually asked. I think that we need better communication in that. Also, you, after we spoke last time, you apparently contacted Ryan and said, get round and see David Edwards and Emma Gilman, and we had an excellent meeting in the Tithington Club. We went through a lot of things, and then it's just fallen by the wayside. We haven't seen each other since. I understand, I spoke to Emma today, funny enough, and I understand that she is fantastically busy now with children and families, and we just never met, you know, we just could never find a date which fitted in. And I think it would be good for the other councillors as well, that they have regular meetings on a certain day of a certain month, with their PCSO and with their PC preferably, to go through all the things, you know. There was this horrendous thing about this rape in Titherington last weekend. We didn't know, we read about it in the papers. You know, I think there should be far better communication with us. That's my feeling. Thank you.
No, I agree with your points. I think if we want to put in something regularly, then we can diary this in and have that commitment. If that's something that everyone wants to commit to, that's absolutely fine. And again, that's something I can take back and say, right, I want them diaried in, I want them in your beat reviews, saying that you've met the councillors. So they're all easy things to solve, and also the expectation of sharing information. Sometimes at a weekend, because Richard works days, I work 1 in 5 weekend. If stuff happens at the weekend, you might not find out about it till Monday, just because the right people aren't in to tell you. But we can start thinking about how do we work better.
We could, yes.
And
We,
just on Monday sending you, this is what happened last week, and Richard can do that to you all. So you've got that in an email form.
To emphasise how useful we are, we've had problems with these dirt bikes going round all the paths all round Titherington and out towards Bullington and so on. And a resident of mine contacted me and said, hey, I just saw a guy pushing a dirt bike through his front door. Is it any use to you? We told Ryan, and hopefully, I don't know what the outcome was because Ryan hasn't told me, but hopefully that person was caught. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Really, for me, I think, appreciate you coming. I know, I think, I work in social housing, I can see some of the difference that's being made by the local policing unit and some of the activity you're undertaking. I think, fair to say, consensus among councillors, we would like that relationship that I think you're offering in terms of the newsletter and contacting, which we work both ways on this, and keeping an eye on how we tackle the issue. We have a successful football club. It's one of those signs of the reason why there's antisocial behaviour in terms of parking is because the team's successful. So it's a positive in one way but a negative in another. So I think it's that thing of continuing the dialogue with you would be really appreciated.
I think we've got similar issues at Pigmere Lake, and so today, because it's sunny, we get them complaints, we sent someone out, 15 tickets issued. Sometimes it just probably needs that just someone goes, tickets everyone, because that's not what we've done, and then it doesn't send the message out, because then people go, oh God, I've got a ticket, and it just sends out that message. So again, I'll speak to Richard and make sure that we're really looking into that, especially on March days.
Thank you.
But we really appreciate you coming.
If you'd like me to attend rather than Richard, I'm quite happy to attend, but thank you for your time.
No, thank you for your time.
You can send me a mailing list and then I can sort that out on a few days.
I believe we have Liz Heathcote from Citizens Advice.
Yeah, so I assume, so Will's on holiday this week, I assume you're all happy to report. So clearly I'll just sort of highlight what he's already highlighted really. So household support funds have been extended by the council, and that's made us very, very busy because we're a trusted person. So we've got a lot of people that have come to us to put forward for that. And that's one of the things that we've actually
comprehensive, and always, I think, the sense of why we support the Citizen Advice Bureau. That's me speaking personally. And are there questions from councillors? Obviously, greatly impressed then. Thank you very much for that. If I take the Silk Museum next.
I'll just sit, because I'm sort of a bit invisible. Thank you very much. You've all received my report, I hope, so essentially, please do ask questions. I just wanted to give a summary. And the summary is that we've had a frantic time, and it will continue thus, I think, because the investment of the Town Council last year was a huge vote of confidence in us, and it's helped act as a really important message to funders. And so it's a sort of cumulative effect. So we have, as you can see, attracted a considerable amount of public funding. We have to spend it and to make all the things happen, and we're currently focusing on Paradise Mill and the Silk Museum. But I wanted to just start by saying that this investment in the cultivation of funders has been really important to us. So we've had people come to visit Macclesfield, to visit the Silk Museum and Paradise Mill, funders who haven't invested in Macclesfield before. And they've been really blown away. And that's followed by, some quite generous grants, particularly for retiring a completely new post of a senior curator who will take further the development of Paradise Mill. So I, to be honest, can't write this in a report, but I was completely astonished and obviously thrilled. Paradise Mill is currently the focus of our work. In order to create a really powerful visitor offer for the town, to grow audiences, to reach more people in a broader area, and to start rebuilding group visits and visits into the town from tourists, as well as making a difference to the lives of local people. We look at Paradise Mill as helping the sustainability of the organisation as a whole, and by virtue of increasing income streams and through a range of things that we're trying to do. We want to do more things to attract more people on a regular basis. And it's just starting now. When we had some new trustees join us, I was explaining at a board meeting that this year is sort of year zero for us. Since I've started working at the Silk Museum, that no year has been the same. No year is a baseline. Everything's changed. We've had all sorts of things. So this year is where it starts in terms of rebuilding reserves, rebuilding audiences, rebuilding income and profiles. So it's incredibly important for us. So we have all sorts of fantastic things going on. One particularly lovely thing that's happened at Paradise Mill are our graduate placements who were featured in Cheshire Life magazine, and they are going to start really returning the mill into a working environment that visitors will see people at work, and young dynamic weavers being creative in such a remarkable heritage environment. We're working on creating a new offer for the whole organisation, which is what we refer to as the Jaguar Studio, which will create more opportunities to access our collections. And after I posted today on top of the ladder, trying to push ahead with our football exhibition, just so you know. And there's a lot to do. We'll keep working on it. We'll keep working, we'll keep building. But it's a fantastic moment to be doing it. It's the right thing for us to do. It's just the beginning, so it will be a small display that will need to follow with many other things. But that's balanced by the fact that, like many heritage organisations, we're facing a drop, we face of 20% in visitors. So a lot of other places are finding this impact of cost of living and so forth, but we're working to try and attract them back. We've got a plan to try and increase the range of opportunities for primary and secondary spend. So building on what I said, and I just wanted to actually ask you all one thing, which is one thing we really want to do is for people to see our cafe space as a place to meet. We have Silver Rainbows, we have tea and tattle, we have a few groups that come. They don't have to pay, they do have to buy a cup of coffee, but other than that they can sit and chat. We really want to have that sense that people feel it's a place that's theirs. Increasingly, if it's a lovely Sunday, you sit outside in the garden with their coffee or whatever, but I just would, if you're talking to people who are looking for somewhere who all could benefit from somewhere, informal, lovely, and community focused, please point them in our direction.
Thank you for that. So, Councillor Barber and I have a challenge about because it's central work. Don't point people towards you, I think we've just been challenged. Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed the music that was on recently, the Weavers band, which was my first wife was singing, and it was great. Really enjoyed it.
That's fantastic to know. We need to do more things like that. I described the Silk Museum as an organisation as the opposite of a TARDIS. We're much, much smaller on the inside than we are on the outside, but we have fantastic staff with lots of connections who are trying hard to create those sort of opportunities and work with musicians. So, again, being seen as a place where local musicians can perform is really, really important to us. So if you've got people who are looking to do something like that, please again point them in that direction.
I did find it slightly distracting in that people were coming in the back room and playing the weaving machines and so on, that were going round while the people were actually singing.
It was it with us if you're in a public space, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
yes.
But it was
Thank you.
magical, it was
Thank
lovely.
you.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thanks very much indeed, Emma, for coming along to speak to us and tell us what a difference the contribution that the Town Council is making in terms of the funding support is really encouraging. I want to thank the Silk Museum particularly for the support you give to us and our events, because we always get great positive support and feedback from events in town. And hearing earlier from Liz about the cost of living crisis, it really is something we're trying so hard to do to support our residents during these still difficult financial times. Particularly if they do something summer events every Wednesday. Young people can get a free bus ride with their parents into town, enjoy our free events. The climbing wall was so great I had to be restrained from having an attempt to do it myself. But the reason I particularly wanted to speak is to say that I'm really excited about the football exhibition.
Okay.
I do know Patrick Birch.
Yes.
I probably should have made a declaration of interest of transparency. I am a season ticket holder at the football club, but I've been talking to Patrick about the exciting project there, and I can't wait to come and see it.
It will start small.
Yeah, but that's the best way to do it.
But it will start, it will happen, and then we will continue to build on it.
Yeah, but thank you, that's a great,
Just one thing I wanted to say, this is about the football. So I think people, from the very start, it's not a display about a football club. It's about a town and football, and we're absolutely thrilled that we have a Lioness's cap, the first one in the exhibition. So that was really fantastic.
Councillor Barber.
Just Ralph, a big thank you. I've seen first-hand all the hard work that everyone at the Trust does. I know it's been a bit manic over the past few months, but I think what we've seen recently with all the events, the partnerships that you're doing locally, it's been really positive for the whole town. And building on what Councillor Wilson says, it's been great to sort of link it up with our free events, making sure that people have got the opportunities to come into town and enjoy our town. And I think that's what the Trust, the Silk Museum, etc. is doing a really good job of doing, building that knowledge of our heritage. So I think the reopening of Paradise Mill generated some really positive publicity. I saw it was even on the BBC, so that was a real testament to all the hard work that went in there. I'm also very excited about the football exhibition. I know that that's causing a lot of pressure at the moment, but I think you're doing a good job. And yeah, just to say thank you to everyone involved, because it's a really brilliant organisation that's got a lot of challenges obviously to overcome, but I think we're all in it together, and Town Council are always going to be wanting to work with you and vice versa, so that we deliver for the residents of the town.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I take it, councillor, we are content with the report.
Yes.
Thank you very much, and I would just say that my time in your event space is the first and only time I was in a catwalk. That's the continued entertainment of my family. But I think it's a great space, and I did also visit with the folk singers over there as well, and it's actually a really good use of that space. But thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to suggest Councillor Brian Hidicott, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'll start by thanking and congratulating the Town Council, because I was chairing a planning committee meeting in this room last Wednesday morning, and after about 2.5 hours of that, it was refreshing to go out into Town Hall Square and to sample the atmosphere out there with families, with young people in the climbing walls. So certainly the first do something summer Wednesday was very successful, and I hope all the rest of them are equally successful. A lot of what else I was going to say was about the police, and a lot of it has been said, so I won't repeat too much of it. I did have an opportunity to bend the Chief Executive before the meeting started, but I think it is crucial that there is a good relationship between Cheshire East and Town Councillors in their wards with their local PCs and PSOs, PCSOs. There has been a heavy turnover of staff at the NPU recently, and I think hopefully that will become more stable. But you know, if there is going to be a time when a ward won't have a PCSO, I think we need to know that. So certainly resetting communications, possibly using the good officers of the town clerk would be a positive thing. And I think Councillor Warren's absolutely correct that, you know, we are the people who can spread the good news about what the police are doing. I think there has to be a positive relationship, and certainly I think any negative complaints should be made in private rather than in public that councils may have about the police. And on the issue of parking at the football ground, that has clearly been raised. There is a ground safety group that has to be by statute, by law, surrounding safety at football grounds. That did meet a couple of weeks ago. It has to be chaired by a council officer, because it is the council that issue the ground safety certificates. Myself and Councillor Wilson did try to go to that, but our attendance wasn't welcome. So we get to find out what happened there. But we hope something positive is going to come out of it, because the first team home match is 2 weeks tomorrow, and I think there will be guaranteed a big audience there, a big crowd there, and the circle starts again. I know a year or so ago we did have residents from Moss Estate come to the Town Council to talk about parking issues outside their homes. There has to be a fine balance between the club having a viable operation and the amenity of local residents, but I don't think that balance is always being achieved, but it is hopefully a work in progress. The last couple of seconds, what I will say is Create. I know you're looking at a grant for them later in your agenda. I think around about 14 years ago, when I was on Macclesfield Borough Council, I remember going to the Borough Council Grants Committee to seek a grant for Create when they were first established. So it was fantastic that, you know, that the council are still able to support the work of Create on the Moss Estate, and also on other wards in the town as well. So thank you for the opportunity to speak.
So thank you for coming and speaking. I think points are well made. I think it would be fair to say that we will follow up on the parking in the football ground with the Chief Inspector. That's councils are minded to do so. I believe now that Councillor Thompson is going to speak. Separate yourself off and speak on behalf of the Create motion, but wouldn't be voting as part of the motion.
So I'm here on behalf of Create as one of the trustees, and we are asking for some money. My particular remit within the Create trustee group is to look after the grocery project. And as you'll probably know, the grocery's been running for 5 grant from the lottery, which saw us through those first 5 years. Our intention has always been to make the grocery a self-sustaining entity, i.e. that the money that comes in, so the food that comes in is all surplus food, but we still have to get it, so we use van and drivers, we pay the drivers. We then have volunteers that sort the food, and people come along to our grocery and we charge £5 for a bag of 3 bags of shopping, which is very good value. And our intention was always to try and make it self-sustaining, as in that the money that comes in from the shops that people purchase would pay for the wages and the van. Unfortunately, I've worked very hard on this over the last 5 years, and we're not going to get to the point of sustainability. We expanded into Bollington, Hurdsfield, to try and increase the numbers. We did bigger pickups, we increased the charge to £5, we have been at 3, and we increased the number of volunteers. But unfortunately, even with those measures, the grocery as it is not going to be self-sustaining. What we're asking from the council is a pot of money. The money that came from the big lottery, the lottery ran out at the end of May. So Create, the charity, has been subsidising the grocery for the last 2 months. What we are asking from the town council is a pot of money to make us, so that we can transition to a model that will be at some level sustainable without Create's involvement. And this might be reducing the amount of places we go to, though we will be prioritising the mosque because that's what Create does. We will be trying to make it more so that we can use our Learning Plus and our youth volunteers to get more involved. But actually, that's actually quite a difficult task. It's not necessarily an easy thing to get the volunteers. But this money, basically, without this money, the grocery as is will be finishing. We would probably by the end of the summer, by the end of August. If you can look to give us this money, we will work with Hurdsfield and the various organisations on the Moss and the Moss Roads Partnership to create something that continues. Obviously there are other surplus projects. There's the one project in town, the Bread and Butter project is just starting on Broken Cross School, and we will be working with those sort of partners to make sure that the food is delivered to where it's needed, which I think is some of the more remote places within town, within Macclesfield. Not everyone has the ability to come in and pick up from the urban centre. So I hope you'll be considerate of our request, and obviously we'll be able to come back and tell you how we're getting on with that transition. Any questions?
May I ask how it works with the other food banks and so on in the town?
Yeah, we have a food
Silk
partnership.
Life and the one at Broken Cross at the church.
Yeah, so we have a food partnership at least once a month, so I go to that regularly. It's chaired by somebody from Holy Trinity Hurdsfield, Stephen. We have the one project come along, the core pantry, which is up at on my ward in up to Priory. We have the Silk Life food bank, and what's the other one you mentioned?
It's the core, yeah, in the church.
So yeah, we all come together and work as a team, and we have done since COVID actually. That was set up in COVID to make sure that we didn't duplicate and waste resources.
But they have their own individual funding, do they?
Yes, the core Silk Life. We all work as different organisations. The core isn't a charity; it's part of the sort of church setup. Silk Life is a charity, and Create is a charity. So we're all sort of separate. The one project isn't currently a charity, but is moving in that direction.
Thank you. You very much.
to move, Chair, that the Town Council agree the grant application of £8,500 from Create to sustain the surplus food grocery for the next 12 months. I'd like to speak, thank you.
Is there a second? Councillor Barber, second. So there is a proposal to approve the grant of £8,500. Is that, you content to vote on that,
Can I speak?
please?
Yeah, okay, thanks, Mr Matt. Create have made a significant difference to Macclesfield South Ward in the many years I've lived there. I did make a declaration in the interest of transparency that Create are in the heart of the ward, where I've been a councillor in their community campaign for some time. And before I continue, I'd actually like to welcome Councillor Sam Hale to the Macclesfield South team. You're going to be joining a really active and engaged team, and I'm very much looking forward to working with you, as I'm sure Councillor Puddicombe is. A surplus food grocery, it is so important for a whole range of reasons, not just to help provide and support food for people, to help make ends meet in the continuing times of financial crisis, but to support the environment and to avoid food waste and to make sure that the food can be properly used and to feed families. I can fully understand why Create are focusing on Macclesfield South, which is one of the top 10 most deprived wards in the country, and also in reaching out to Macclesfield, Huddersfield, which is in the top 30% of deprived wards in the country. There's absolutely no doubt whatsoever that residents on those wards really do need the support of a grocery like this. As Councillor Thompson mentioned, this has been discussed at the Moss Rose Partnership, which I chair. The Moss Rose Partnership, I'm sure you're all involved in neighbourhood partnerships, but it brings together a whole array of residents, including schools, the police, Cheshire East Council officers, councils, etc. I've perhaps spoken rather a longer time on this, but I do think residents listening or watching the tape on this need to understand and appreciate what an excellent piece of work that's going on in areas where people are still really in need of this type of service and support. So I'm very happy to move this grant for Create Macclesfield.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Any other comments? Can I suggest that we vote on that motion, please? All those in favour? Councillor Thompson, abstained. Thank you.
We call him Councillor Thompson again.
So, going back to the agenda, thank you very much. Minutes from the annual town meeting on the 22nd of this year, 22nd of April this year. So I'm seeking to approve the minutes.
So moved, Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there a second for that? Thank you, Councillor Wallace. Can we take a vote, please? Are we happy to approve? Is there any abstentions? Councillor Hill. Matters arising from that? Are there any matters arising? Thank you. Moving on. Minutes of the full council meeting on the 13th of May. Can I have a proposer for the minutes, please?
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Wilson, seconder. Councillor Wong, thank you very much. And can we take a vote on the minutes, please? Those in favour? I think everybody, you all did it twice, 2 different times.
Sorry.
Thanks. I think everybody voted yes, apart from Councillor Hale, who abstained. Let it be recorded that way. Okay. And there are no matters arising from those minutes. Finance Committee minutes, we're to note the minutes. Are you happy, Councillor Thompson?
Yes. Do I need to propose them? No, for noting.
Just for noting. And there are no matters arising. Spend to date, we are seeking approval for spend to date of 141,642 as approved by the Finance Committee.
I
Are we happy
propose
to
that.
propose that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we happy? Is there any second? That?
No.
Yeah, Councillor Wilson, are we happy to vote on that? Everybody unanimous. Okay. Planning Committee minutes. Been quite a busy period for the Planning Committee, fair to say, and we just asked to note those minutes. Is there any matters arising from the minutes? Good, okay. With that. Services Committee, to note minutes from the 3rd of June. Okay, is there any matters arising from the Service Committee minutes? Nope. Right. Item 11.3, which I didn't take earlier, which is the CCTV report, and I believe that the CCTV representatives are attending the next council meeting.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Councillor Wilson?
There's just one point I would like to raise, Chair, that I would like to get an answer from Cass before the next meeting. And it's a matter that was raised with me by a resident, and I'm not saying any more about the location because I think I always feel uncomfortable when we discuss these types of issues and, you know, make comments about where it was and things, because I'm not sure that's very helpful. But I did raise an issue regarding an incident, and being fully aware there was CCTV in that area, asked when the crime was reported if the CCTV could be looked at to see if the perpetrator could be identified. And apparently that wasn't possible because the cameras weren't working. And I would just want to know from the CCTV service we are paying a significant amount of money for when cameras aren't working and how long the downtime is, because it was only last week that we heard with great concern about the worries about the massive increase in violence against women and girls. And I feel that CCTV does give reassurance and also safety, but then when you find that it's not working, that is a bit disappointing. I don't want to say any more about the location or what happened, because I don't think that helps the situation, but I just would like to be clear about, you know, when there is downtime, A, why, and B, how long.
So, proposal is, I think, to request information from CCTV on that the cameras are all functioning and to ask them to be notified when they're not. Right, so,
Just to have spoken to CCTV, and they have been upgrading the cameras, which is why they say they can't be here tonight. And they've been doing them in tranches, so they've been taking some down while they do some. But what we haven't had is information about that, and when and which parts. So that's what I will request, because that incident, we don't know if it was covered or not. So if you could give me the information about the incident, and then I will check with them. Going forward, I will ask them again to keep me informed, so I can keep you informed of when there is upgrades and issues.
Thank you.
so is that somebody happy to second that? Is that Councillor Barber? We vote on that proposal. All those in favour? Thank you very much. So, calendar of meetings. There's a proposal to move the date of the council meeting on the 25th of February to the 10th of March.
Or any date that you would like.
I'm happy to propose said date change. If there are objections, can I ask somebody to second that? Councillor Thompson, thank you very much. So can we vote on the date change in the council meeting?
To the 25th.
Yeah.
To the 10th.
South Park Pavilion, which is covered slightly tonight. I'm going to ask the Town Clerk to start just on the report, and I may add some cover in terms of where I think we are with the pavilion, if councillors are happy for me to do that.
So the loan has been successful. So we have the funding for the pavilion and we have planning permission, which were the two conditions we needed in the heads of terms in order to get the lease. So we're now working with Cheshire East to get the lease finalised. There is a cost, we have to pay Cheshire East legal fees, and because it's over £3,000, that's why we have to have a proposed seconder today to pay those legal fees to move it along. We will have more legal fees coming from our solicitor on our side as well. But we did that at finance meeting last time. So that's where we're up to with the lease. We aim to go to procurement for the stage one, which will be, to all intents and purposes, a project manager for this project on Monday, August the 5th, all being well. Procurement documents, it'll go in contract finder, it'll be in the newspaper, it's an open tender, and it will follow our financial regulations, everything in there about procurement. There is a panel in the report to delegate the power to choose that first stage tenderer, and then it will all be brought to full council, more than likely December the 16th, for full approval before a contract is signed. With
No, you've done it fair.
I say with regard to our new councillor though, he may wish to be involved in that process, I don't know. It is. So that might be something to amend the panel if you so wish, Chair.
So cover a fair amount of it. As Town Clerk says, the point with the first stage, at the first stage of the contractor, is not commitment to a contract. Commitment comes in after the end of the second stage. And we at that point we agreed what's called the guaranteed maximum price with the contractor. So we aren't at that stage. We should reach that stage by Christmas. And the objective, the time frame follows through. We should have the pavilion open in September next year, all being well. What I would say is we just need to be conscious that if negotiations with that contractor, don't quite go to hand, then we may want to push back the date at which we approve the contract. In these circumstances, it's always better to get this right than rush it. Given that I know it's been a long time coming, but my experience and advice to the council will always be to do that. Right, so a couple of things. One, I think there's a suggestion to change the panel and add Councillor Hale. So there's probably two propositions. If I take that one first, Councillor Wilson, do you wish to propose that?
I'd like to propose that Councillor Sam Hale join the panel. Indeed, Councillor Puttitt was involved in the whole process. When we first set this up, it was the Central Ward councillors and the South Ward councillors because of the location of the park, and so I think it's entirely appropriate that Councillor Hale joins us, and I think he's going to bring a great deal of help with his finance background. I'm feeling more relieved as time goes on, so I think that Councillor Hale should join us, not least because of his ward's duties and also his financial background.
Councillor Barford to second that. Would you like to vote, please? Yeah, I'd like to vote for yourself. Councillor Hale, you're duly elected to the selection panel, so not only voted in as a councillor but already on the panel in one night. Take the second recommendation, which is to approve the cost to have the lease signed off. I'm happy to propose this myself, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Councillor Wilson, second. Take a vote, please. Right. That's unanimously passed. Thank you very much. Christmas tree light procurement.
So, unbelievably, this is the last year of our current 3-year contract with Light for the Christmas lights provision. So we will be going out to tender again in November time with a view to the deadline being around the end of January, early February. So we're currently reviewing the documents, putting them all together, and this proposal is to delegate the decision on that contract to a panel. If possible, we'd like to make a couple of changes to the panel. So it should be Councillor James Barber, a Central Ward Councillor, Councillor Chris Wilcock, Chair of Services Committee, Councillor Fiona Wilson, the Regeneration Champion, myself, Town Centre Manager, Events Officer and Admin and Governance Manager. So that would be the final panel. So yeah, that's...
Okay. Are we happy? So there's a proposal to change, basically replace myself with Councillor Barber. Are we content, Councillor Barber, with that?
Yeah.
Right, so I'm happy to propose that change. If somebody would be happy to second it, James. Thank you very much. Are we happy to take a vote on that? All those in favour? That is the selection plan. Parks funding.
So, as budgeted, there's £100,000 for parks and play areas in the budget. As we're sort of quarter way through the year, thinking of how that budget can be used. The report explains what we've done in the past 4 years and going forward, and on that basis it would look like it was tipping towards turn to have some funding towards some of their play areas. So the looking at the past, it's been 50,000 per area, or I think Windmill Park had 100,000 because it sort of straddled two areas. So the proposal is well, it's for you to decide, but you know, in the past it's been 50,000 or there around. We've had preliminary chats with ANZA of what they can do with that, and there's some ideas in there to be worked on. But yeah, that's what the report says. So it's, you know, for discussion on that particular funding, and that if it was 50,000 would leave 50,000 to then go to another potential play area.
Councillor Ward.
Thanks, Chair. I'm just conscious that we're all aware of what's gone on over the last 2 or 3 years with the cost of living, inflation, etc., etc. Are we happy that 50,000 gets us as much as it did 3 years ago? And should we as a council be considering raising the amount that we invest into the parks commensurate to the inflation? Just a question for discussion, really.
That's a question to Councillor Edwards.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor. Emma and I have looked at the possibilities of what can be done. We've asked the residents what they would like. They've identified at least one area which can be improved considerably. I do feel that the money was, I don't know if I can say this, but not particularly well spent last time in Titherington. And so I do feel it is our turn, and hopefully you'll give me, or give us, or whatever, between 50 and 100,000, and I'm very happy to work with Laura in identifying what can be done. Thank you.
I mean, first of all, I completely agree with Councillor Warren, and I do think for our budget next year we need to think about increasing this. The second issue is I also agree that it's Titherington's turn, for want of a better word, because we have tried to, what we have ensured we've shared the money around. Whether it's 50,000 or 100,000, I'm not really clear, because to be fair, we normally have a bit more information than this from ANZA. In terms of the park refurbishments that I've been involved in as a ward councillor, certainly when we spent the money on Windmill Park, Councillor Warren, we were very much involved, and the plans were drawn up and we had very full and detailed costings. So whilst I have no issue with the funding being to Titherington, I would actually like to see a bit more detail before we go ahead, because you know, smaller areas, play areas are going to be actually more conducive for smaller children. I've understood the need to have play areas that are focused on smaller children, and and older children through being a councillor. So it doesn't really, we're just not getting as much bang for our buck, are we? Which is the point that Councillor Warren's making. So, I mean, could I ask the ward councillors and the clerk perhaps, and maybe the mayor, have a bit further particulars before we actually go ahead? Because what we have done in the past, and it's done really well, is that whilst we've invested the lion's share of the fund in any particular ward, we have then been able to use smaller amounts to do big things. So perhaps we could just get a bit more information about it, because if you look at what's listed there, if that's all we're going to get for 100 grand, that is a big change. So I think I'd like us to have further and better particulars, to make sure that we are getting good value for money. But I'm happy to proceed on the basis that it is Titherington's turn to have funds allocated to them.
So I think there's probably two parts in this. Is the principle of being Titherington in terms of where the bulk of the funding is spent this year. It's something that is a proposal. And I think the second part is for that we agree that the limit committed to that funding, taking the point that Councillor Warren has made, that we should seek further information from ANZA in terms of what could be possibly done so that we set a limit that's appropriate thereafter. Would that be summary of what I think I'm hearing? So I think I might just give you the proposition.
Could we come back to the next full council
Yes.
meeting? And I will discuss this with Emma and with the clerk.
Can I make an alternative suggestion?
Yes.
That once you've agreed the principle of the spend, it could come back to Services Committee,
Oh, fine.
which does look at the sort of public realm, etc. And then perhaps the Services Committee could have a closer look, and then we're not waiting until the next full council, which is
Happy.
further away than the next Services Committee. That'd be my suggestion, Chair.
No, thank
Sorry,
you.
ma'am.
No, it's okay.
Wrong meeting.
I'm called once, thanks for June. Just
If that's a proposal, I'm happy to second that.
so proposal.
I'm proposing that having agreed in terms of having further information and looking in more detail, that rather than waiting for the next full council, Chair, that we actually, having agreed the funding amount, that we take the decision on the actual application of that to Services Committee, so it's dealt with more quickly.
It's a second for that.
I'm seconding that.
So Edwards, we intend to vote on it. Thank you very much. Useful, constructive discussion. Earmarked reserves.
Sorry, Chair, before you move on, can I crave the indulgence of council
My
just for a
apologies,
moment
I do
before
have
we move on to the next agenda item? Because in the report we're receiving, we did allocate £60,000 to the Ash Grove Park in South Ward, in my own ward, which is known locally as Little Park, because the children on my ward are allowed, quite rightly, to go to that park on their own with their siblings to play, but of course South Park is just a step too far for some of the smaller ones. And I wanted just to, if you'll indulge me, briefly revisit how we got to this situation, in that myself and former councillor Puttick were invited to go to the school, to a school geography class, to listen to the students and hearing about the work they've been doing to understand their local area. And in the actual discussion, Councillor Puttick and I were asked if we would provide a tree house for the park. And so we said we would do our best, and we listened to the children's comments, and we went away and we spent some time, and the clerk will know that the word tree house brings out panic from some people, and and it was quite some time to convince people that tree house was a great idea, but we got there, and Ash Grove does have a tree house, and it's a very, very fine tree house indeed, and I'm very proud of it. And when no one's looking, I'm going to have a little play in it, but I wanted to share with you what subsequently happened, because it's something that's caused me, that's been absolutely fantastic. Being a councillor isn't always easy. Sometimes it's particularly hard, but I want to let you know that every student, I've had 30 letters from students at Ash Grove School who've written to myself and former Councillor Puttick. And the younger ones, but you can see the detail that students have gone into, the borders, they've drawn trees and everything, and they've decorated every single letter. And there's 30 of them altogether. Now some of the students are younger ones, but some of them are older. It's taken us a little while to do this. I would say it's been a long time coming, but you can see from the effort that the one here with loads of hearts on. Not very often that someone sends a councillor a heart, I have to say. But you can see from the effort that's been made by the pupils. And I want to just say that in some of the comments, what's been said, we are a rights-respecting school, and you have listened to the voice of the child. Thank you for bringing our ideas to life. You built the treehouse with our imagination. We're very excited to play in the treehouse, and we want to thank you. And I want to bring that to you, because you made that decision as well. There was, as there always is with successful projects, work goes into it, and it takes longer than you think it's going to take. But I think this is the nicest thing that's happened to me as a councillor, ever. And I wanted to share it with you. Thank you for indulging me.
No, and I would commend the children's handwriting if I
Yeah, it's very good.
It's
tight to buy.
I think that having listened to our residents and then acted upon it is something of how democracy, local democracy works best. So I think it's a great story, and if I get the opportunity, well, I look forward to opening the park.
Yes.
But I'll also have a golden tree house.
We will be opening the park, and we will be inviting them out to do it, but it will be after summer holidays. But absolutely, there's going to be a big party.
Yeah, so the mayor might have to get some tunes, just make sure don't break something. No, thank you for that. It's a wonderful story. Earmarked reserves.
As you know, we have free reserves, and we also have reserves that we earmark. And there's a list of what we already have in earmarked reserves. So we've got obviously the South Park Pavilion. There is near on 546,000 earmarked for that project. We've got things like the Glow Up grants. We've still got, if anybody's watching who owns a shop front, we've still got £6,000 in that earmarked for that. And things like different things like the community transport, which is what we pay out some of the free buses for. What we're asking is to move the surplus from last year. So this shows you that we, Ashgrove has had the work done, and we need to pay for that work, and there'll be some planting benches put in still. So that's in to move that over to the earmarked reserve, so when that bill comes in, that it's already earmarked there for that. And the underspend of the ward budgets as well, so that they all accumulate for you. So if you haven't spent your ward budgets last year or the year before, they are accumulating, and we're putting them in the reserves there. So it's just to put those two amounts into the earmarked reserves by resolution, really.
Questions, councillors? Are you happy to propose this, councillor?
I am indeed, yes.
Do you have a second, councillor Barber? Are we happy to vote on this? Unanimous. And I'll just remark that what I'm guiding is the town clerk, and she talks to design teams and contractors, never to tell them that the reserves is actually increasing, to keep them honest in terms of the amount of money we're allowing them to spend. Just a voice of experience in these matters.
It's all public though, so.
It's all public. I know it's public, but they won't look unless you tell them. From experience. Thank you very much. So I think the last part is the date, time of the next meeting. The next full council is on the 9th of September in the town hall at 7 o'clock. And with that, thank you for all your attendance and your input. Wish you a good evening. The sun is still out, I believe it is. And it is relatively warm. If you come from where I come from, this is warm. Thank you.
Please stand.